A college student called Sorawo Kamikoshi is trapped in a bog pool in another world, afraid she'll die alone. She suddenly gets pulled out by a person called Toriko Nishina who stumbled across her. The two then encounter a monster called a wiggle-waggle that will supposedly turn them insane if they look at it for too long. Toriko throws some rock salt at the monster and turns into a strange cube with reflective surfaces. The next day, in the real world, Toriko tracks down Sorawo and asks her to help hunt more wiggle-waggles to sell them to a specialized researcher. After encountering another wiggle-waggle, the rock salt does not work, and neither does the pistol that Toriko carries with her. After staring at the wiggle-waggle for several seconds, Sorawo perceives the real form of the monster long enough for Toriko's pistol to shoot it. After the events of their last trip to the other side, Sorawo's right eye now turns blue and Toriko's left hand turns translucent at random. The two head off to sell their mysterious cube to a girl named Kazakura, who specializes in Otherside phenomena and pays handsomely for the cube, but has no solution for their recent body modifications. Toriko tells Sorawo that she's raising money to fund her Otherside expeditions to find her friend Setsuki, who disappeared in the recent past. Back in the other side, the two encounter a man who has been looking for his missing wife and claims that the other side has been sending agents into their own reality for some nefarious purpose. The man wanders into a building with Toriko, and Sorawo notices a woman who looks like Hashaku-sama, but the man thinks she is his missing wife and disappears after touching her. Sorawo suddenly awakens to realize the Hashaku-sama has been using her feelings for Toriko against her. Sorawo and Toriko then team up to banish Hashaku-sama and escape the other side. Sorawo tries to sort through her feelings about Toriko when the two of them return to the other side to visit a shack that Setsuki might have used in the past. As they travel through the other side, they remember the man's warnings about glitches and toss rocks along the path to ensure they do not die from a wrong step. Eventually, the two come across a desolate village, though Sorawo notices an offering of rice left in the recent past in one of the houses. Suddenly, Sorawo and Toriko are on the run from big heads, insect-like monsters with big heads who chase them in large numbers. Sorawo spots a shrine that provides an emergency exit back to the real world and escapes with Toriko. Sorawo receives a warning from the space-time man, an Otherside being, taking the form of a middle-aged man, not to investigate the other side any further or she'll be trapped there forever. Later at a cafe, Sorawo asks Toriko if Setsuki is even still alive after 3 months in the other side. Toriko abruptly leaves to go to the other side herself. The next day, Sorawo visits Kazakura to tell her about recent events when Kazakura notices a picture of Setsuki on her phone. Suddenly, some strange people start banging on Kazakura's door. Kazakura unlocks a shotgun to face them, and Sorawo discovers that the door has become another portal to the other side, taking Kazakura with her by accident. Sorawo ignores a repeated warning from the space-time man and navigates through some strange plant-like monsters to find Toriko in a copy of her apartment. Toriko believes she has finally found Setsuki, but Sorawo sees another monster and keeps firing Kazakura's shotgun at it until it disappears. Sorawo and Toriko hold an apology dinner for Kazakura at a restaurant in Ikebukuro. Though Kazakura leaves immediately after running up a large tab, Toriko reveals she kept Hashaku-sama's hat from their previous adventure and tries it on in front of Sorawo. As Sorawo tries to split the check, the waiter speaks in cryptic nonsense. Soon after that, Sorawo and Toriko find themselves slipped back into the other side and are soon chased by a giant metal monster carrying wrapped human bodies. As Sorawo and Toriko stumble across some train tracks, they are saved by Lieutenant Drake leading some United States Marines from the Pale Horse Battalion stationed in Okinawa until they somehow shifted into the other side a month ago during an exercise. The metal monster chasing them was formerly a robotic pack mule that got caught in a bear trap and abandoned, but somehow grew sentient and started killing some of the Marines. Drake escorts the girls back to their outpost near Station February, a small train station that somehow has electric power. Sorawo and Toriko meet with Major Ray Barker, the acting commander of the outpost. After being trapped near the train station for over a month, several men in the Pale Horse Company were decimated. The unit offers the two girls an empty tent. Drake warns the girls not to use their phones, but Sorawo decides to call Kazakura anyway. However, halfway through the call, Kazakura starts yelling nonsense in a different voice. Suddenly, the outpost is attacked by an entire pack of face dogs, a long body of blue ghostly faces that seems to ignore the Marines' gunfire and mortar shells. Toriko picks up an unused MK-14 EBR and Sorawo manages to shoot the monster in its weak point with her help. But Sorawo loses her color contact during the battle and accidentally reveals her blue eye. Toriko and Sorawo run to the station and manage to jump on the meat train before the Marines catch them. Though the two girls are scared by what they find on board, they'd manage to return to their normal world. Meanwhile, Kazakura doesn't understand why Sorawo started talking nonsense halfway through their call. After a night of drunken revelry, Sorawo and Toriko find themselves at a beach resort in Okinawa. Even though Toriko wants to continue their impromptu vacation, Sorawo insists they take a cab back home. However, the two girls fall asleep after seeing a strange hermit crab and wake up at a beach on the other side of the cabin ruins. The two decide to make the best of their situation and enjoy the beach on the other side with their swimsuits, their guns, and what few supplies they brought with them. Soon after, they hear a man cry for help as he's being beaten up by bullies, who then attack the girls, but Sorawo puts them down with her gun, revealing that they are really monsters from the other side. As night falls on the beach, the girls find themselves nearly overwhelmed by monsters until Sorawo remembers packing Hashaku-sama's hat. Sorawo guides Toriko and uses the hat to send them back to their world on a beach in Okinawa. Sorawo looks up and sees an image of a woman that appears to be Satsuki before the portal closes. In the university cafeteria, Sorawo is approached by a freshman student named Akari Sito, who claims she is being stalked and attacked by ninja cats. Sorawo and Toriko have trouble believing her at first, but after chatting with each other in Kazakura, Sorawo tells Toriko she is really afraid of having to shoot cats on the other side. The two girls decide to meet Akari in a cafe, and suddenly find themselves in a dimension between the real world and the other side, where the entire town has been transformed into a cat town. Akari uses her karate skills to defend Sorawo, and Toriko tries to shoot the cats, but none of the girls are able to hit them. Sorawo sees a mysterious object in Akari's chest with her blue eye and gets Toriko to pull it out, revealing a good luck charm Akari forgot she had. After throwing it away, the ninja cats lose interest in them, and a bunch of white cats smother them. After the girls wake up in the real world, Akari remembers the charm was a gift from her former tutor, Yuruma-sensei, less than a year ago. Toriko recognizes Yuruma as the surname of Satsuki. Akari meets Sorawo and Toriko at Kazakura's house with another request. Her childhood friend Natsumi Ikikawa saw a talking monkey in her yard a few days ago who gave her some teeth. Sorawo quickly figures out it is similar to the urban legend of Kano Sanuki, who would give additional teeth if they were buried in the backyard. However, Natsumi threw the teeth away and ever since then has been facing misfortune. When Akari takes Sorawo and Toriko to Ikikawa's auto repair shop, Natsumi reveals all the misfortune she has faced. The girls try to dig around for the missing teeth, finding various remains when Kano Sanuki herself appears and claims that she did not find teeth, so she remotely rips out one each from Natsumi and Akari. Sorawo uses her observation powers to convince Akari her karate will work on Kano Sanuki, and she quickly beats up the evil woman until she disappears. Back at Kazakura's house, Akari mentions that Sorawo would look like Satsuki with longer hair, making Sorawo wonder if Toriko had ulterior motives for her earlier suggestion. Sorawo receives a call from Toriko inviting her to a Japanese barbecue restaurant along with Kazakura and Akari. Once Sorawo arrives there, she and Toriko have a conversation. Akari then calls to let them know that she got off on a weird floor inside the building. When she claims to see them, Sorawo realizes that Akari is at the in-between. Kazakura arrives just as Sorawo and Toriko decide to rescue Akari. When the trio finally catches up with her, she explains that she was wandering around because she thought Sorawo was ahead of her. Suddenly, they are confronted by a mysterious entity, which forces them to flee to the elevator. Once Sorawo regains consciousness, she sees Satsuki. She then uses Toriko's hand to return to the real world, much to everyone's relief. Sorawo and Toriko tells Kazakura they need her help so they can rescue the Marines at Kisaragi Station. At the cafe, they explain that they will wait until she leaves before they use Hashaku-sama's hat to reach the other side. After a while, Sorawo and Toriko successfully meet back up with the Marines, where they learn what has happened since they left. Once everyone returns to the camp, they stock up on ammunition and supplies before the operation commences. While they are on the move, Sorawo uses her eye to spot glitches. However, when they come across some enemies, everyone opens fire, which has no effect. Sometime later, when they reach the area believed to be the entry point, Drake becomes terrified. When Sorawo and Toriko go ahead to scout the area, they find Kakandara. The Marines catch up with Sorawo and Toriko, and everyone open fire on Kakandara, which has no effect thanks to her transformation. Toriko then hits her with an armored vehicle thanks to Sorawo's distraction. The combined effort ultimately leads to Kakandara's defeat. Afterwards, the Marines head back to the real world while the girls decide to stay behind. Sometime later, they return to Kazakura's house where they find a gate nearby. Sorawo and Toriko then enter it just before Akari arrives to greet them. Once they reach the other side, the girls reminisce about their first meeting before they head back to the real world to hang out with Kazakura.